Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July as we are here today getting ready for some racing, short track racing here tonight on a very special holiday for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Splash and Go Graphics. This is the Lucas Oil Raceway Park, a short track about 10 miles away from downtown Indianapolis, close to the vicinity of the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we are getting ready here tonight for the green flag to fly to continue on the season. This is race number 19 on the season for these drivers. And certainly going to be an interesting one based off of what we saw in practice. It's certainly looking like it's going to be a very typical short track where track position is going to matter, but grip's going to be important for these drivers too. I watched these guys during the practice session, and a lot of them seem to really want to go up around the dotted line, up near the outside wall, kind of straddle that dotted line. You can actually see it right there, up near the wall, up near the high groove there. A lot of drivers trying up there. Problem is, there's two cushions that they could overstep. The first cushion is down the inside. It's pretty slick down there. A lot of drivers have been having trouble trying to get back to the throttle, spinning off corner exit. And then up there on the top side, if you overshoot that cushion just enough, you're going to be up and into the wall. It's really been the Blake Reynolds-Derek Justice show for the past few weeks. Justice has won 3 out of the last 4. Blake Reynolds winning 1 of the last 4. The two of them combined this season in 18 starts have gone to victory lane 12 times, and they comprise tonight's front row, with Reynolds getting the better of the Baskin-Robbins Toyota Supra here this evening. But both of them trying to continue to rack up playoff points. Justice, with 7 wins, has 42 playoff points so far this season. Blake Reynolds, with 5 wins, has compiled 31. But there's some drivers that are starting back behind them, including Michael Frisch and Brian Mercuria there in row 2. Frisch was the fastest all practice long. Mercuria was 3rd fastest in practice. So look at those two to maybe play spoiler up here, as they're both looking to pick up their first win of the season. With it being Independence Day, a lot of drivers in the field running the Stars and Stripes, the red, white, and blue, and we'll be taking a look at them during the course of this race, as I believe we've got a total of around 30 drivers that are going to be taking the green flag to start this race. 28 drivers, nope, make that 29 drivers in total that will be taking the green flag here this evening. Let's look through the remainder of the finish of the starting grid here today. Right now, I'm looking at the points coming into this race of drivers that are trying to get themselves into playoff positions. I mean, there's not a whole lot of regular season left. These drivers are going to be going to the Oxford Plains, Iowa, Road America, Watkins Glen, Daytona, and Darlington before we get to the playoffs. And a lot of drivers here this evening could be duking it out for spots inside the playoffs during the course of this race. And of course, this is very much like a super speedway where everybody's going to be racing in very close proximity, whether it be from front to back or even from the back being caught by the front of the field. We've got 2 pace laps here since it is a short track, and then the pace car will hit pit road and turn these drivers loose, as Reynolds and Justice continue their rivalry that they've had since the very start of the season. And they're going to lead us down here to the green. The Dalen is back to work. 150 is underway. Up here at the front, you're going to see them settle out very quickly as they get single file with Reynolds, Justice. Ooh, Frisch may have gotten into the wall off of 2 there as he's in 3rd. Mercurio right now in 4th place. And right now inside the top 5 is Keith Sherman. Sean Butler just got around Jake Poulin, who was going backwards. Poulin back to 7th now, and now has Elliot Henderson to his inside, that 87. That's for the 7th position. Dylan Smith right there as well. One driver that has not taken the green flag here that was also up in the top 5 in practice speeds all this evening is Andrew Schwartz in the 67. He has missed the start. And being a short track, these drivers are going to tick away laps quickly. He's going to fall multiple laps down if he even gets in here to even complete a lap here this evening. So tough break there for Andrew Schwartz. Now the good news for him is he comes into this race currently in a playoff position. He's 4th in the overall standings and has a quite nice cushion of almost 200 points back to the final transfer spot to make it into this season's battle for the championship, as one of the drivers had to race his way in. I think all drivers that tried to qualify their way in transferred, as this track was going to hold. I think it was 32 drivers, and as we said, only 29 took the green flag. Evan Brinker here battling side by side with one of our red, white, and blue cars this evening, the 28 of Ryan Williams. That's for a spot just inside the top 10. Then you've got our Spa winner, 89 of Brandon Hawken right behind them, and he's trying to hold off the 39 of Arnold Columbia. It's going on just inside of the top 10 here as Williams around the outside line is going to take that 10th position. Up front, pretty much everybody single file. However, the battle for the lead is still very close. Your top three only separated by maybe 3 car lengths at most. With Justice all over the back of Blake Reynolds, and you kind of wonder, it looks like maybe Justice a little bit better in the center of the corner off. And if he can get enough of a run, would he stick his nose out here to try and make a move on Blake Reynolds? I mean, we mentioned the fact that Derek Justice coming into this race has won 3 of the last 4. He won Charlotte, that was 4 weeks ago. Then he won Pocono 2 weeks ago, and then he won Chicagoland last week. Michigan was where Blake Reynolds went to victory lane. That was 3 weeks ago, so he's on a bit of a winless streak right now, is that Coca-Cola Chevrolet. And I mentioned about track position being so important. I mean, you can clearly see this. I mean, the drivers that qualified 1st through 5th, they're running 1st through 5th right now. It's going to be very difficult for these drivers to pick their way through the field. As mentioned, some of these drivers with the red, white, and blue colors. Sean Butler is one of them, running the red, white, and blue Pennzoil Ford Mustang for his number 35. Mentioned about the drivers coming into this race. There's a number of them that are actually in the hunt this evening for potentially getting into a playoff position. As far as the point stands are concerned, we're actually going to go side by side here and show you your FTF points. And you'll notice that right now, as far as points-wise, Kyle Riley, 11th in the overall standings, is currently in that final playoff position to get in through points. Michael Cozy Jr. down there is a 2-time winner, so he's already locked in through those trips to victory lane, also being in the top 25 in the points. But you can see there with Kyle Riley, Philip Kraus, those two separated by only 3 points. It's only, I think it's 12 points. Dylan Alt is outside of that cutoff line. And Shane Terrian, who is in tonight's field in the 38, although he's running back in 20th, he still is in the vicinity there as well. Currently scored about 27 points, I believe, behind that, 17 points. Nope, that's not correct either. No, it's 23 points. My calculations are off. 23 points behind that cutoff line, and Kyle Riley is not in the field tonight, nor is Philip Kraus, nor is Dylan Alt. So this 38 car of Shane Terrian, depending on what he's able to do here this evening, if he can get himself up there, maybe finish inside the top 10, even a top 5, we could maybe see his name highlighted in yellow when we get to the Oxford Plains next time out, which is going to be in 2 weeks. These drivers racing here tonight on the holiday, they will have next week off from FTF Grand National Series racing. Up at the front, not much going on. However, the one thing that kind of worries me right now is the fact that we've gone 13 laps green flag racing. Lucas Oil Raceway Park is a little under 3/4 of a mile long. I think the official length is 6.86 miles. So as at typical short tracks, we're going to see these race leaders who are out here running single file, not really battling each other, just concentrating on lap times right now. They're going to catch up to the tail end of the field. And we've seen everybody up migrated to that middle to high line going into the corner. Some of them are brave and go down towards the inside on exit, but you kind of wonder, where are the drivers on the tail end of the field going to go when the leaders eventually catch them? We're going to have to wait and see about that, as Justice looks like he does not want to ride. He's taken a couple of peeks there to the inside on corner exit of Blake Reynolds. Has not been willing to make a move just yet. 150 laps here this evening. We're going to take a look here at our track info. I talked about the track temperature, and it's remained constant pretty much since practice into qualifying here into the race, about 82 degrees. Normally, if you start to see the track temperature migrate up around 100 degrees, then you start to worry about these drivers' ability to find grip. But 82 degrees is pretty manageable. That's why we really haven't seen anybody spin out. And of course, with the nighttime conditions, I mean, you can see the sun setting out there on the hills just off of turn 3, so it's allowing these drivers the opportunity for the track to cool down a little bit more. And who knows, by the time we get to the end of this race, the track may have cooled down a couple more degrees and may make the racing potentially for the win all that much more exciting. As boy, Derek Justice, I think right now what he's doing, he's trying to force Blake Reynolds to make a mistake, and gets to the left rear quarter panel. He's going to get at least alongside, maybe off of 4, not quite going to be able to get it done. Talked about the driver's unwillingness to really want to go down to that inside line. Justice is doing it, but he's not quite able to get the power down on corner exit to be able to get alongside. He's got to get alongside Blake Reynolds getting into either turn 3 or turn 1 if he's going to make this pass work. And it was interesting that Blake Reynolds, that last lap, actually went down to the inside line to take away any opportunity for Justice to make a move. Justice saw the rear end of that car almost snap around as he slid into turn 1, trying to carry a lot of speed. That may have cost him just a little bit. And as these two are mixing it up, that's brought Michael Frisch and Brian Mercurio into the mix. Mercurio third in the overall points right now. Michael Frisch currently is 7th. I mean, both these drivers right now looking very good to make it into the playoffs through points, but they want to break up the Reynolds Justice show. They want to find victory lane for the first time this season, and the speed they showed in practice, they very well could do that. Just a matter of getting around this 3 and this 31. I also got to wonder too, I mean, let's say that they run this 150 laps clean and green. When do we make pit stops? Can these drivers make it 150 laps on what's in their fuel tank? I think that if they can make it on fuel, they're not really going to worry about tires. I think that really here at a short track, it's track position over tires every single time. You're not going to want to lose the potentially 2 to 3 laps making a green flag pit stop if your competitors stay out for the entirety of this race. And the last couple of laps, Reynolds has continued to run that lower line, trying to maybe take away the opportunity for Justice to get a run on him. Justice has stayed up now in the middle groove, and Michael Frisch running that same identical line. Those two Supras starting to reel in Blake Reynolds, and I'm almost wondering maybe have a battle for second here before we have another battle for the lead, because Frisch seems to be closing up the gap little by little on Derek Justice. Justice right now has his eyes out the windshield. He's not really focused on the rearview mirror, and that's allowing Frisch to close up as, boy, Justice has his hands full for the moment. He got really loose there. You can see it coming off of turn 4. And the reason why we saw a lot of that in practice, too, is drivers trying to get every bit they can. When they were out there in practice, a lot of times they're out there spending a stint trying to lay down a qualifying lap, and you ask too much of the car sometimes, and especially coming off the corner, if you get back to the throttle too soon, those rear tires are going to spin, they're not going to find any grip, and while you've got that wheel turned to the left, front tires are facing to the left, your rear tires aren't giving you any forward bite, and that thing's going to go around. As you saw the 53 of Justin Malello, he's going to go a lap down now, right now 24th. Andrew Schwartz, we mentioned, missed the dropping of the green flag. He is just now coming out onto the racetrack, albeit 25 laps down. Now, as we mentioned, he comes into this race 4th in the overall points, so he's still going to look pretty good as far as the playoffs are concerned after today's race. I think he just went out there, completed a lap, now bringing it to pit road, maybe starting parking this race. That's tough there, especially a guy that I kind of had circled as maybe a dark horse here today as well to go to victory lane. He was also running up there inside of the top 3 as far as practice speeds here this evening. Well, we've been focused up here at the front of the field. Let's drop back. Take a look at some of the guys that aren't exactly doing so well here this evening. One of them actually running one of my favorite schemes here tonight. How about Cosmin Ishinoshi right now in that 17th position, but very familiar paint scheme there on his Ford Mustang. That's Dale Jarrett's 1998 Batman scheme. And that is a beautiful livery on Cosmin's Ford. Right now, though, not having the best of runs, although he has the last couple of weeks really been stepping it up as far as finishes. When we last broadcasted, if I remember correctly, he was just a couple spots outside of a playoff position. And here this evening, he comes into this race 10th in the overall standings. Right now sits in a playoff spot. So things have really turned the corner for Kazuma Nishinoshi, who had a lot of struggles early on in the season. There's Shane Tyrion back here in the 38 right now, battling for 18th place with Rich Jameson. And just behind them, you've got Kyle Lawrence Short. Now, this is the first time that we have seen him since Flatout Racing Network broadcasted. He's been on other broadcasts, but not here on Flatout Racing Network. He's making his 4th start on the season, and he had his best finish not too long ago, a 13th place run at Pocono Raceway. So, at least trying to stay on the lead lap right now as he's in the 20th position, and looks like he's fighting some connection issues there as well. Another driver back here that's made only 1 start so far this season, that's Jonathan Palmieri. I actually looked back through the finishing results this season. According to the statistics, he has made a start this year, but I was not able to find out where it was and what position it was in. But right now, he is in danger of being in the way of our race leaders. He's fallen a lap down, as has the car just ahead of him, the 48 of Andy Margot, another of our Stars and Stripes machines here this evening. You can see that actually Margot may have gotten up into the wall, a little bit of right rear damage on that number 48 machine. Next car that these race leaders are going to encounter would be the 63 of Ryan Pandisio. Right now, 21st position. I mean, we've run almost 35 laps now, green flag conditions, which sometimes you see that at a short track. Sometimes these drivers get so spread out, and we've talked about the fact these drivers have some grip to work with the cooler track conditions. So if we go the distance, green flag from start to finish, you almost wonder with the pace we're seeing being set here by Reynolds, Justice, and Frisch, how many cars are we going to have at the lead on the lead lap at the conclusion of this race? The other driver that's in the field here this evening, our Daytona winner starting off the season, that is King Cook in the 55. He's now battling for position with Ryan Williams. Cook in the 10th spot, looking for 9th. Brandon Hawken right there behind him as well, and it's Evan Brinker in the 21 just ahead of him. So this is 8th through 11th battling it out right now. King Cook, mentioned a winner at Daytona to start out the season, but he is 34th in points. So it means right now his Daytona win would not count toward the spot in the playoffs. Brandon Hawken also outside of the top 25 in points, 33rd in the standings right now, a winner at Spa. So right now he would not be in a playoff position either. You know, the driver that's a former winner here in the series that is outside the top 25 in points, Graham Bolin, a 2-time winner this season. He's not in tonight's field. And Michael Cozy Jr., 2-time winner this season. He's not in tonight's field. There's a lot of drivers that are not here tonight, and I think the clear explanation for that is pretty obvious. It's July 4th. It's Independence Day. A lot of drivers are out here sim racing, but a lot of them as well are spending time with their families. And hope that everybody that is tuning in here this evening, hope you had a great Independence Day with your family and friends. I know here in the year 2020, with everything that's going on, it's a little bit difficult. Things are mighty different. I live in a small town, and we don't have any fireworks around here this year. As far as I'm aware, none of the villages around us are having fireworks. So it's definitely a different time, a very different situation this year on July 4th. But hopefully everybody has had a great Independence Day so far. And hopefully we're in for a great cap-off here tonight with this race at Lucas Oil Raceway, as Blake Reynolds has been able to open up a 0.6 of a second lead now. Back to this battle for second place. Justice has lost touch with Reynolds, and he's starting to be reeled in by Michael Frisch. Reynolds, I'm not sure, it looked like a little bit off camera there. He may have drifted up just a bit through 1 and 2. That allowed Justice to gain just a little bit of ground, but not much. Brian Mercurio right now in the 4th position, and Keith Sherman, good run here tonight for the 15 machine. currently up inside of the top 5, and we've actually got a battle possibly going on here for 6th. That's Elliot Henderson in the 87, trying to reel in Sean Butler. Right now, it looks like 1, 2, 3 of the drivers that came into this race in playoff positions are not in this evening's race. Those drivers would be David Shieldhouse, who's 5th in the overall points, Kyle Riley, who right now is 11th, technically 12th in the reformatted points because he's currently just in on points, and then Michael Cozy Jr., who right now would be in a playoff spot with his 2 victories. And Elliot Henderson really closing up the gap here now on Sean Butler. I almost wonder if Butler might have used up his stuff. That's another thing with the long green flag run we've had here. It's all about who has pushed it too much too early and who has been saving for the long run. And maybe with Derek Justice falling back from Blake Reynolds, maybe in his attempt, we saw early on he was trying to take some looks to maybe take the race lead away from Blake Reynolds. Maybe he used up his stuff, and that's why we're starting to see him drift back, as gap now less than 0.2 of a second between himself and Michael Frisch. It now just actually opened up again. I think Frisch may have had a little bit of a problem there off of turn 2. He was actually gaining through 1 and 2, but then lost some ground heading onto the back straightaway. And you can see the lights are now starting to come out here at Lucas Oil Raceway as the sun continues to set behind the hills here in Indiana. You know, it was interesting. I was actually, doing some research here for tonight's race at Lucas Oil Raceway, and of course, these drivers running the Xfinity cars this evening went back to actually look at the times that NASCAR itself in the Nationwide Series ran here at this racetrack, and a lot of names that have gone to victory lane here. Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, former champion, Brian Vickers, Greg Biffle, late Jason Leffler, and also, how about Mike Wallace back on August 5th, 1994. Those of you that tuned in today to the Xfinity race at the Indianapolis Road Course saw Mike Wallace behind the wheel of one of the JD Motorsports machines. Nearing a third of the way through this race, and I think we may have had a problem back here for the one of Dylan Smith. He has drifted back quite a bit, now to the 19th position. Let's actually go back, see what happened to him, as he was running up around inside of the top 15, and there may have been a little bit of contact here. That's Ryan Naraki, the 02, right behind him, and he checks up there. That's Jameson, the 86. Oh no, looks like he just pulled down to the inside. I don't know what was going on right there, if he just lost momentum, felt that he needed to get out of the way of those drivers behind him or what, but definitely costly there for Dylan Smith, and it has dropped him back outside of the top 15. A driver that is working his way up to the front, though. We talked about the drivers maybe saving their stuff. Kane Cook, last 3 laps, he has passed both Sean Butler and Elliot Henderson, who the last time we looked were battling for 6th. Well, Kane Cook is now up to 6th, and now trying to see if he can reel in Keith Sherman for 5th place. His next car he'll catch is the lap machine of Ryan Pandicio. Kyle Lawrence Short has fallen a lap down now, and Dylan Smith, who we saw just have that issue moments ago, he is the next car on Blake Reynolds' hit list to put a lap down. As Jonathan Palmieri just ahead is about to go 2 laps down to the leader. And I believe that is the 48. Yes, it is. The 48 of Andy Margot about to go 2 laps down now as well. Whoa, that was close. Andy Margot trying to keep his car up on the high side to stay out of the way of race leader Blake Reynolds, who drove it deep into the corner. And that car pushed up almost into the side of the 48. And all of a sudden, Elliot Henderson is dropped like a rock. Not only did Kane Cook get around him, but so too has Evan Brinker and Brandon Hawkins. So Kane Cook, Evan Brinker, Brandon Hawken, these might be your guys that were running just outside of the top 10 that were saving their stuff, and now they're making a forward charge after everybody else used up their tires. Caution is out. The 2 of Jonathan Palmieri has clobbered something, and his car currently sits down on the apron of turn 1. Boy, I don't know what he hit, but he hit something a ton. The whole front end of that car is gone. Only his second start of the season, and it's going to end in sparks and smoke. Oh my goodness. This is a short track, folks. Let's bear that in mind. And I think maybe this actually started ahead of him with the 48 of Andy Margot. We're going to actually focus first on the 48, then we'll focus on the 2. So it's actually a battle for position, too. 2 drivers, both 2 laps down. Margot's going to... Oh, there was maybe a little bit of netcode there. And look at the 2 shoot up into the air. We're going to go back and look at that again, but I mean, what did he hit? I know that there's tracks around here that have a little bit of a jut out where the safer barrier starts heading into the corner. Is that what the 2 car hit? I don't know. We're going to look again. This time we're going to be focused on the 2. Let's see if we can figure out what it is he hits that sends him up into the air like that. Boy, it was beyond that point I was talking about where that safer barrier juts out. You can see it right down there, lower part of your screen. I thought that was what he hit, but no, it wasn't. We're going to get another camera view of that as the race leaders are on pit road, so we'll update where everyone came off pit lane. Everybody coming to pit road for the opportunity to get themselves some tires. This may be a good angle to be able to see it. It'll kind of give us the cars coming towards us off of turn 4. You see right there, oh, there was no netcode. That was just flat out contact. Oh my goodness. Well, apparently there is a glitch spot up on the outside wall going into turn 1. And unfortunately for Jonathan Palmieri, he found it. Let's see if we can find one more camera angle here. I just don't see any clear area that juts out to, show us what the 2 car could have hit to go up into the air. There's the contact into the wall. I mean, I know when cars wreck, sometimes they have a connection thing where the car will blink out. But when the 2 car maybe blinked out, did he reappear into the 48? I don't know. But who would have ever thought we would have a car go up and into the air that high at a short track of all places? That's almost unheard of. Usually very unique circumstances is when something like that happens, and I think that would have definitely qualified under the category of unique circumstances, as pit road was a busy place moments ago. We had a number of drivers on pit road, but the top 10 decided to stay out. Ryan Williams, Arnold Columbia, Jake Poulin, Sean Butler, Cosmish No-Shoe, Ryan Araki, Rich Jameson, Justin Malello, Andy Margot. They were all on pit road here under this caution, but Blake Reynolds decided to stay out. So he'll be the race leader with Derek Justice, Michael Frisch, Brian Mercurio, Keith Sherman, your top 5, then Evan Brinker, Kane Cook, Brandon Hawken, Elliott Henderson, and Gary Waterworth. That's your top 10. Those are the drivers that stayed out. They'll be restarting with 60-lap-old tires as opposed to everybody else behind them that came to pit road. So a number of drivers with varying strategies. Let's see how it plays out as the green flag is back out here at the Lucas Oil Raceway Park. Driver we're going to have to keep our eyes on, it's going to be Arnold Columbia in the 39, who is now the highest driver with fresh tires. Trying to get around at the 87 of Elliott Henderson. Kind of boxed in right now, and now we'll cut to the inside of Gary Waterworth. So Columbia making forward progress and making it quickly. Evan Brinker, no contest. He's going to pass him possibly. Now stuck behind the 15 of Keith Sherman. Sherman now moves to the outside line, and Columbia on those fresh tires able to run the bottom. Let's see if he can complete the pass off of 4. Yes, he will. Boy, this is fun to watch. The difference of new tires versus old. 60 laps difference on the Goodyears on that 39 car. And he'll now go to the inside of Brandon Hawkins. So Columbia, who spent a good portion of the first third of this race running about the 13th, 14th position. What a strategy call this is, and right now it's playing out in his favor as he's about to maybe get up into the top 5 here in the next couple of laps. Question is, though, how many laps does it take for the tires he has to even out with those up ahead of him? And I think Blake Reynolds and Derek Justice, these guys, they realize the situation. They're trying to gap themselves as best as they can back to that 39 car. Right now, the gap only a second and a half, though, from Reynolds back to that now 5th place car of Arnold Columbia, who's going to go around the outside line of Kane Cook, and now tries to look to the outside of Brian Mercurio, looking for 4th place. He'll get it. And I think these guys are realizing that 39 is on fresher tires, and they don't want to get in the way, because when you're at a short track, you run only a certain number of laps in your head behind a driver before you eventually decide, all right, I'm faster than they are, they're holding me up, it's time to move them out of the way. Jonathan Palmieri still sits on pit road trying to get damage repaired, as he ended up sitting on pit road damaged. We talked about Dylan Smith's issues. Well, Dylan Smith made sure he picked up the spot on Palmieri and now has brought his car back behind the wall. Looks like he will officially finish in the 23rd position. I don't see how Palmieri's going to get back out there. Looks like he'll finish in 24th. And Andrew Schwartz, as we thought, he went out, he completed a lap, brought it to pit road, started parking, finishing today's race in the 25th position, as now Derek Justice going to have to give up 2nd place to Columbia. What a run right now for that 39 car. And I mean, you know, we're talking about all these drivers that are, you know, in the running to maybe get into a playoff spot through points. Well, I mean, look at Columbia's situation coming into this race. We're going to show you the point standings yet again. You'll see Columbia's right down there on that cut line, 25th in the standings. That's where you need to be able to qualify into the speedway races. You have to be in the top 20 to qualify into the short track races to be locked in. And right now, if Columbia, if this all goes green to the end, if he's able to hold off Blake Reynolds and Derek Justice and pick up this victory, he's into a playoff spot, and that would knock more than likely Kyle Riley out of a playoff position. So, you know, this pit road gamble certainly could be huge in terms of the playoff grid when we eventually finish out the regular season at Darlington Raceway. Caution is out, though. And it looks like it may be for Ryan Naraki in the 0-2. I don't know if he hit anything, but it looks like he may have taken a little trip into the infield grass through turns 1 and 2. So caution out for the 2nd time, and now comes the big question. Those guys like Reynolds, Justice, Frisch, Mercurio, Cook that stayed out on the last caution, do they pit this time? And if they do, does Columbia come down with them, or does he stay out? I think with only having 15 laps in his tires, he's going to stay out, and indeed he will. Reynolds, Justice, Frisch, Cook, they're coming in. But no, Cook's staying out, sorry. And so is Brandon Hawken. So it's Reynolds, Justice, Frisch, and Mercurio who are coming to pit road. So those that didn't pit last time are pitting this time, and nearing halfway. Ooh. It was a 60 lap difference between the tires on the last restart. This time it's only going to be about 16 lap difference of tires, but we'll see how it all plays out. Let's go back, see if we can find out what happened to the 0-2 of Ryan Naraki, 9th in the overall points coming to this race, currently in a playoff position. The good news for Naraki was he was able to keep his car up to speed, did not get put a lap down, so he is still in the lead lap. As a matter of fact, he actually didn't even bring his car to pit road here under this yellow. And I don't think he got any help. He was battling with Michael Frisch at the time. And gets up a little high there, brushes the wall, and it's going to spin right down in front of the 58. They were 3 wide there with Hawken, Mercurio, and Kane Cook. as they all try to avoid him, and Cook almost got some contact to the left front of his machine. Close call there. Talked about it at the top of the program. Drivers just overstepping that cushion, running that high line, getting up into the wall, and you see the end result there for Ryan Araki. Now, the one thing I'd be a little concerned about is, yes, he was one of the drivers that came to pit road under the last caution, but just how much damage was sustained to the right front of his race car when he pancaked it up into that outside wall? I mean, obviously, they're not carrying the high speeds here tonight that they would carry at a track like Michigan or Auto Club, those faster 2-mile speedways. So maybe the contact isn't quite that bad, the damage not quite that bad, not really going to affect him. And of course, too, with a short track, you don't have to have the prettiest car to win. So really just all depends on really what his tires are like, I think, too, after that spin. I mean, we saw he locked the brakes up. So we'll see what happens here with that 0-2 as he decided to stay out. So Blake Reynolds, who came to pit road, he is going to be restarting back in the 11th position. 12th for Justice, 13th for Frisch, 14th for Mercurio, 15th for Brinker. Other drivers that pitted under that caution: Elliot Henderson, Rich Jameson, Keith Sherman, Gary Waterworth, Justin Malello, and Andy Margot. Free pass car under that yellow is going to be Ryan Pandicio, and I should also point out as well that under the last caution, Kyle Lawrence Short took the wave around, and he got back on the lead lap. He actually stayed out under this caution. He is currently up inside of the top 10 in that 10th position, but he is out there on 75-lap-old tires, as are Kane Cook and Brandon Hawkins. So, guys apparently feel that they've conserved their tires enough. We'll see if it works out for them here, as Arnold Columbia going to bring us back to the green flag, and he's going to get a pretty good jump. He can gap himself from this 55 and 89 who are on 75-lap-old tires. I mean, he might be able to open up enough of a gap to hold off the fresh tires of Blake Reynolds and others. Reynolds trying to make the move here on Michael Frisch. Actually, Frisch and he are on the same lap of tires. Just ahead of him, Shane Tyrion, who stayed out. Sean Butler, Jake Poulin, Ryan Araki all ahead of him, also stayed out under this caution. Right now, Reynolds, Justice, Frisch all boxed in. Look at Frisch shoot the middle. Almost 4 wide as Justice is on the apron of 1 and 2. How did they make that work? And Michael Frisch is now in the driver's seat of the drivers with the freshest tires, now up to 7th, leaving Reynolds and Justice behind. He'll now look to the inside of Sean Butler. That's for 6th. And all of a sudden, Reynolds and Justice, they're back again. Well, now it looks like Frisch is able to gap himself once more, passing Ryan Williams. That moves him up into the top 5. Reynolds is yet to get around Sean Butler. Now he's boxed in behind the 35 as Justice is going to pass him. Brian Mercurio, is he looking 4 wide? We're almost 3 wide, 4 wide back there out of 2. Oh, this is some good short track racing right here, and these drivers, they're giving each other enough room to make it work. We've been 3 wide on 2 separate occasions in the last 10 laps. Now Mercurio gonna tuck in behind Blake Reynolds, who has now fallen to proverbially 3rd of the drivers on fresh tires behind Justice and Frisch. Now he's actually battling with Brian Mercurio. They're both on the same lap number on their tires. And Frisch is really making forward progress. He's now going to go by Ryan Araki. That's for 2nd place. He just got around Kane Cook for 3rd moments ago. And he's about 1.2 seconds behind Arnold Columbia. Michael Frisch has 3 top 5 finishes on the season, 7 top 10s. But he has a 0 in the win column, and he wants to remedy that here tonight as we've got 70 laps to go, now 69. And it is 0.7 of a second between himself and that 39 car. There is 16 laps difference between Columbia's tires and Frisch's tires. And Frisch, in the early stages of this race, when we had that long green flag run, spent the entire time running in the 3rd position, got up there, the back bumper of Derek Justice, battling for 2nd. So we know he's got the pace, the same pace as both Derek Justice and Blake Reynolds are front row. And here goes Frisch for the lead. He's going to slide up in front of Columbia. No contest. Made that pass look easy. Frisch to the race lead. Now the driver he has to worry about is Derek Justice, who just made the pass on Ryan Naraki for third. How about Naraki? Had the spin that brought out the latest caution. I was really concerned about the damage he got from getting up into the wall, the condition of his tires, spinning it out. He's done a good job holding it up there inside of the top 5, as he may fall momentarily into the clutches of Ryan Naraki. And here's Justice now looking for second place on Columbia, as Frisch trying to open up as big a gap as he possibly can before that 31 gets clear into the second spot. Blake Reynolds, on the other hand, not going well for him as he got boxed in. He's all the way back here in the 8th position, just now going around Brandon Hawken for 9th. Drivers that have already gotten around him already, Michael Frisch and Derek Justice, and also Brian Mercurio and Evan Brinker, who now find themselves in 5th and 6th place. Remember, Mercurio was in the hunt for a victory back at the road course of Spa. He was in that 3-way battle in the final stages of that race with Blake Reynolds and the eventual winner, Brandon Hawkins. So this strategy, might it work out for him to go to victory lane? He is the highest driver in the points without a victory, 3rd in the standings. 17 starts, 6 top 5s, 12 top 10s. He's only one of 4 drivers that has double-digit numbers in top 10 finishes this season. Obviously, Justice and Reynolds both are in that category, as well as the 35 of Sean Butler. And Mercurio now goes around Naraki, moves up to the 4th position. Up at the front, though, you can see the gap has opened between Michael Frisch and Derek Justice. Right now, it's 1.3 seconds between the 58 and the 31, and caution is out again. This time, it's for the 63, I believe, of Ryan Pandisio. Gets the car refired just before the race leader Frisch gets to him. Boy, these cautions are coming at such interesting times. The last 2 yellows have come out when drivers who had just been to pit road have been out there now for about 15 to 16 laps on their tires, and you can definitely see the right front damage on that 63 machine of Pandisio, who was the recipient of the free pass under the last caution. He does get the car refired before Frisch comes around, so he's still on the lead lap. I believe the free pass car now is going to be Andy Margot. He'll get one of his 2 laps back here under this 3rd caution of the day. And just a solo car incident for Pandisio here. Got a little too high off of 4, gets into the wall. Ooh, boy, I was worried about the right front. He made pretty good contact with the left front down to the inside wall as well. See, he gets the car refired, and just behind him was Michael Frisch crossing the line to take that caution flag. So decisions. What do you do now? Has everybody pretty much made the pit stops they're going to make? Or will we see anyone on pit road? Yes, we have some drivers that are pit. Kane Cook was on pit road moments ago. Sean Butler, Ryan Williams, Brandon Hawken, Cosmin Shinoshu, Gary Waterworth, as well as Pandisio, who brought out that yellow flag. So Kane Cook and Brandon Hawken, I know, were 2 drivers that had not changed their tires since the drop of the green flag. They're now getting to come to pit road with less than 60 laps to go. And Cook is going to restart back in the 14th position. I mean, we've already seen Arnold Columbia on fresh tires be able to work his way up to the front. Michael Frisch on that last green flag run was able to work his way up to the front on fresh tires. So can Kane Cook do the same? Of course, as well, we've entered in the second half of this race. So the likelihood that we're going to see another caution, or 2 or 3, probably the odds are very much in favor of that. But these drivers, 3 cautions here, 90 laps in at a track this small. That's pretty impressive, and we've seen some great green flag racing all night long. A lot of lead changes, a lot of pit strategy, and the occasional 3, sometimes 4 wide battling inside of the top 10. So Frisch and Justice are on 20 lap old tires. Arnold Columbia in 3rd, 36 lap old tires. Brian Mercurio in 4th is on 20 lap old tires. Then Ryan Naraki, 34 laps on his tires. currently in the 5th position. The other drivers that stayed out under this yellow included Evan Brinker, who will restart 6th, Elliott Henderson 7th, Blake Reynolds 8th, Keith Sherman 9th, Rich Jameson in 10th, Shake Tyrion, Jake Poulin, and Kyle Lawrence Short in 13th. Those drivers did not come to pit road, and Kyle Lawrence Short, I want to make a note of this, has not come to pit road at all this race. He's out there on 93 lap old tires. I don't understand the strategy, to be honest. He already was able to get the wave around, get the caution, be on the lead lap. I'm not sure why he didn't come to pit road here when drivers like Hawken and Cook, who had also stayed out since the drop of the green to start this race, came to pit road this time under this caution period. So we'll wait and see how that develops as the green flag is back in the air here with 57 laps to go at Lucas Oil. Frisch gets the early jump, about maybe a half a car length over Justice. Boy, Justice is so good driving it into the corner, and caution is out again. Cautions breed cautions. It's Evan Brinker in the 21 bringing out this 4th yellow of the day as he loops it around, looks like into turn 3. Sorry, that's turn 2 actually. So the caution is going to come out yet again. Ryan Pandicio, who spent a little bit of extra time giving his car some TLC on pit road after the damage he sustained on the last caution. He's going to be the recipient of the free pass. And that's a tough break there for Evan Brinker, who was up in the top 10 pretty much all day long. And I believe was one of the drivers that restarted up inside of the top 10 here on this last restart. Let's go back and see what happened to him. I'll be shocked if anyone comes to pit road this time, with maybe the exception of that 18 of Kyle Lawrence Short. I think this is the perfect opportunity for him to come pit road. Now we got a couple takers, Cosmin Shinoshu and Gary Waterworth on pit road, and looks like we had a little contact to bring this one out. Watch the orange and white 0-2 of Ryan Naraki, and oh yeah, that's classic short track racing, as Brinker had to check up for Columbia ahead of him through the center of the corner. Some drivers will lift, some drivers don't get the memo in time, and just that little hit from behind from Naraki is what sends the 21 car around. Nothing that Naraki did wrong. Sometimes you just don't have the split-second reflexes to know if a driver ahead of you is going to lift or not. But that's a tough break there for Evan Brinker. As mentioned, he was up inside of the top 10. I think he was running in the 5th position at the time that he spun out. So a tough break for him in terms of track position. We'll have to see if he can maybe work his way back up into the top 5 where he was running just before that spin out occurred. So Kyle Lawrence Short is still out there, 97 laps on his tires. I mean, how durable are these Goodyears? Can you run the full 150 laps on those tires? I don't know. We mentioned that Cosmin Shinoshu, Gary Waterworth, they came to pit road. Ryan Pandicio was indeed the recipient of the free pass. We now have 2 drivers that are off the lead lap. Andy Margot, who got the lucky dog under the last caution, 1 lap down. Justin Malello currently 2 laps down to the race leaders. He is the last car running in the 22nd position. If you're just joining us, we have 3 drivers that are out of the race, although 2 of them have officially retired. 1 of them still sits on pit road getting damage repaired. Dylan Smith is out of the race in 23rd. Andrew Schwartz starting park. He's 25th. The car in the middle, 24th place, Jonathan Palmieri, who actually visited above the catch fence over in turn 1 in one of the most bizarrest short track wrecks I think I've ever seen. He's still sitting there on pit road. They're trying to get that car repaired. He's been sitting there for now going on 24 minutes trying to get his Chevrolet back out there, but I think that's just maybe a very slim wish. We should get the 1 to green signal this time by, and so we're going to be going back green with about 50 laps to go. 51 laps officially when they hit the line. Michael Frisch, Derek Justice going to be your front row. A couple of Toyota Supras leading the way. Then Brian Mercurio and Arnold Columbia line up 3rd and 4th. A couple of Camaros. Blake Reynolds, who led the first 60 or so laps here this evening. He's now back in 5th. Ryan Naraki there in 6th. The rest of the top 10 going to be Elliott Henderson, Rich Jameson, Keith Sherman, and Jake Poulin. Driver right now with the freshest tires would be Sean Butler, at least up towards the front, but he is in 14th place as the green flag is back in the air. 51 laps to go, and you just get the feeling we've not seen our last caution. When we get into 50 laps to go at a short track, you know that these drivers, the aggressiveness is going to amp up. And the room that we saw them giving each other in the early portions of this race, there's going to be very little room to be found in the closing stages. As side-by-side, Blake Reynolds, Arnold Columbia, a 16-lap difference between the tires here. Reynolds with the advantage in terms of tire wear. Columbia's not giving up, though, on that top side. They remain side-by-side out of turn 2, and this is allowing the top 3 to scamper away. Whoa, Reynolds looked awfully loose there on entry. Rear end of the car looked like it wanted to step out, and Columbia's going to use that to his advantage. He'll clear and hold off Reynolds for 4th for the moment. Reynolds back in the charge, though, into turn 1. There's Kane Cook in that 55. Now, he has about 17 lap fresher tires than Blake Reynolds. So right now, he is the one that we could be looking at to pull a Columbia from 2 restarts ago and Frisch from... I'm sorry, actually a Frisch from 2 restarts ago and Columbia from 3 restarts ago to maybe charge his way up to the front. As you can see how he's able to get back to the throttle so much sooner through the center of turns 1 and 2 as opposed to Blake Reynolds. Kane Cook has moved his way up to 6th. Meanwhile, Derek Justice has not allowed Michael Frisch to get away with the race lead, and Brian Mercurio has not allowed the top 2 to check out. And right now, the top 3 separated by 0.6 of a second. And we saw before Derek Justice kind of use up his stuff when he was trying to get around Blake Reynolds in the early portions of this race. So we've got to make sure not to make that mistake again when dealing with Michael Frisch. Talked about it at the top of the program. 7 wins for Derek Justice. 3 of the last 4 races he has gone to victory lane. He's got a 42 playoff point cushion for the moment, continuing to try to add to that as the regular season progresses. Whereas Michael Frisch, Brian Mercurio, those guys, they're just looking for their first trip to victory lane here in the FTF Grand National Series. They might want to be worried because Kane Cook has cleared into the 4th position. He's got about 2 seconds to make up before he catches up to Brian Mercurio, but he is the driver right now with the freshest tires up inside of the top 5. 17 lap fresher tires than our top 3. And we saw even the difference of 16 lap fresher tires, what it was able to do for Arnold Columbia a few restarts ago. Another driver that's also on the same number of lap of tires as Kane Cook is Sean Butler. He's now worked his way up to 7th, looking for 6th on Elliot Henderson. Maybe can crack the top 5 if he can get around Arnold Columbia. And then Ryan Williams is the other driver that's also on the same lap number of tires as both Butler and Cook right now. He is in the 9th position, looking for 8th on Reynolds here. Going through turns 1 and 2. Reynolds is fading to the back and fading quickly. Just dropped to 9th and in danger maybe falling outside of the top 10. Elliot Henderson going to go side by side. Well, I thought he was going to go side by side. Caution! Blake Reynolds, I believe, brought out this caution for the 5th time today. He was falling through the field very quickly. And we saw that car step out on him almost going into turn 1 about 10 laps ago, and I think maybe it finally did go around on him, bringing out this 5th caution of the day. Let's go back and see what happened. This was on the front straightaway. I don't know if this was contact induced or if he just went around. That's Jameson in the 86 behind him. Oh, you see him get loose off of 4, tries to save it, then overcorrects and the car spins around. No contact between himself and the 86 of Rich Jameson, just a simple spin. And that could very well be attributed to the fact that he was running out there on about 50 lap old tires. And he is actually on pit road now, as is Jake Poulin, Brandon Hawken, Kyle Lawrence Short, make a note of that. Lap 111 is his first pit stop of the night. Shane Thierry and Cosmin Shinoshu on pit road, as well as Ryan Pandicio. And Andy Margot, very happy to see this caution, as he is going to be the recipient of the free pass and will get back on the lead lap. We're going to take an onboard here with Rich Jameson in the 86 and just see how loose that 3-car of Blake Reynolds was coming out of turn 4. Watch this. Right there you see sideways again, tries to save it, overcorrects, and around he goes. Fortunately though, his car didn't drift back up the track and everybody was able to avoid him, so it was just a solo car spin to bring out our 5th caution of the evening. Now, we mentioned that Blake Reynolds came to pit road, as did others. Highest running of the drivers that came to pit road will be Brandon Hawken. He's going to restart in the 14th position. And when we go back green, we're going to be somewhere around 35 laps to go. So is that enough time for a driver to work from 14th up to the lead? I'm trying to remember back when Arnold Columbia and Michael Frisch both worked their way up to the front on fresh tires, what positions they restarted, and I don't think it was as far back as this, but I might be wrong. So we're waiting for the lights to go out atop the pace car. While we're waiting for that, we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. You're not going to miss anything. We'll be back for the restart here at Lucas Oil Raceway Park as we are going to go FRN side by side. Welcome back here to Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race 19 of the FTF Grand National Series. Green flag in the air with 36 laps to go at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. This is the time of the race where we call it the shootouts, because usually we end up having a lot of late cautions and it turns into spurts of 3 to 5 laps. As we nearly had one back there. Sean Butler forced his way in front of Arnold Columbia and almost got turned to the outside wall for his troubles. He'll clear for that 5th position now. It's going to be Columbia and Elliott Henderson. They're going to battle side by side. Actually now make it Henderson and Williams. Caution is out again. Looks like this time it may have been the 18 of Kyle Lawrence Short, and only his 2nd start, bringing out this yellow flag. And I said it before, cautions breed cautions, especially when you go to the places like short tracks where everybody is all over each other's gearboxes. And these cautions, the more you think about it, they are actually helping race leader Michael Frisch, because every lap he's leading under caution, that's one less lap he has to worry about Derek Justice, Kane Cook, and others that are behind him. And have to worry about defending the race lead, maybe the race win from them. Back and see what happened to Kyle Lawrence Short to bring out this 6th caution of the day. Lawrence Short waited until lap 111 to come to pit road. This was his first time in over 110 laps out there on fresh tires, and I almost wonder if maybe he wasn't used to the slipperiness of fresh tires. We'll have to wait and see here. It was coming out at turn 4. On the high side of Cosmin Shinoshu, and there you see it. Ooh, makes contact with the 84 car, actually. It's Cosmin. I don't know if he spun it all the way around or not. He may have actually gotten up into the wall with the right front. Let's go back and see about that. I thought it was just a 1-car incident, but replay tells us otherwise. I think that was exactly what the case was. Lawrence Short had been out there So long on old tires, he'd forgotten what fresh tires felt like behind him and realizes, oh, he gets loose off the corner. And, oh, what a save there by Kazumi Shinoshu. Locks up the brakes, smokes the front tires, but he gets the car turned back to the left before hitting the outside wall. That is a great save. That's not easy to do at a short track because usually when your car goes into a spin, wall's not that far away. Needless to say, after that spin, Cosman has brought his number 84 to pit road. Andy Margot on pit lane as well. Free pass car is going to be Justin Malello. This now puts him 1 lap down to the race leaders, and should we get another caution, all drivers that are currently still running in this race would actually be back on the lead lap. Grant Pandicia was a lap down. He got the free pass. And Lawrence Short took a wave around early on in this race to get back in the lead lap. Andy Margot has gotten back in the lead lap with 2 cautions, giving him the free pass. And now Malello getting the free pass is just 1 lap away from putting all 22 cars that are still running on the same lap as leader Michael Frisch. All right, so let's do some tire comparisons here as we're waiting for the pace car to give us the 1 to green signal. So Frisch and Justice, they're still out there on even laps on their tires, 48 apiece. Kane Cook, 31 laps on his tires, lines up 3rd. Brian Mercurio, 48 laps. He's on the same strategy as Frisch and Justice. He's going to be 4th. 30 laps on Sean Butler's tires in the 35 car, lining up in 5th. And Williams is on 30-lap old tires. Arnold Columbia up here on 64-lap old tires. Elliott Henderson, 48 laps. Rich Jameson, 49 laps. And Ryan Naraki, 62 laps, respectively, on the tires they have. Now, that caution actually negated the strategy of drivers like Brandon Hawken, Blake Reynolds, Shane Tyrion, who had pitted about 10 laps ago. Well, it's good news for Michael Frisch, these cautions coming out, not causing him to have to defend the race lead. Cautions are killing the momentum of the fresh tires of Hawken and company to be able to make their way up through the front of the field, to the front of the field. They need long green flag runs, and sure they're going to get it here as we're going to go back green, looks like with a total of 29 laps to go. Let's see how long it takes for another caution, or can we run this race to the checkers under green flag conditions. Kane Cook drives it deep into turn 1. He's got the freshest tires up here in the top 5. Ooh, contact with Justice. Justice is going to spin it, and he saved it. That car was sideways through turns 1 and 2. Everyone spreads 2 wide, 3 wide, all the way through the middle. They're 4 wide back there as well. I think that might have been Shane Tyrion down on the apron in that 4 wide formation. Cars bouncing off each other. Jameson and Naraki. Brandon Hawken in trouble. He may have got spun around, and he did. Caution is out. Saves it, but that car was sideways in front of oncoming traffic. Race officials safely throwing the yellow flag. Hard to tell who it was that got into it. It might have been the 21 of Evan Brinker. The yellow flag is going to fly for the 7th time here tonight, and to be honest, we probably should have had the caution flying in 2-3 different times in that last run before it eventually did. And we talked about Hawken, these cautions really hurting him as he was back there hoping his fresh tires could work him to the front. This obviously isn't going to help matters either. We're going to go back just a little ways here because I want to take a look at this going through 3 and 4. I mean, this was just insane. This all was due to Derek Justice almost spinning out. Let's actually go to that first, and then we'll jump back and see what happened there with Hawken. So we're going to look at the contact between Justice and Kane Cook while battling for 2nd place. See, Cook's going to get right to the left rear quarter panel. Justice tries to block him off. Oh, great save as he sideswipes 35 of Sean Butler, and everything's stacked up because of this. Now look at that green and black 38 of Shane Tyrion down the apron trying to get by Evan Brinker. He almost turned Brinker off of 4, and then I think it's Brinker's going to get into the 89 of Hawken right here. Oh, Hawken had to check up. He got into the back of Ryan Naraki. Brinker is into him, and Hawken almost collected Jake Poulin. May not have. Poulin may have slowed down in time. That's what brought out the caution because the 89 was facing perpendicular to oncoming traffic, so officials no choice but to throw the yellow flag. Like only one driver came to pit road here under this caution, the 15 of Keith Sherman. This is going to restart him back in the 22nd position. Let's take an onboard Jake Poulin. We're going to go all the way back here to all this stuff that happened out of turn 2 and just watch how a double file formation after the Derek Justice Kane Cook contact, how it all stacks up to 3 and 4 wide. Watch this. Still double wide. There's the contact. All of a sudden, everyone fans out. There's 3 wide. There's 4 wide ahead of Jake Poulin. Still 3 wide up there, about 2 rows deep. Then up here onto the front straightaway to turn 1, you'll see the contact here. Watch as Hawken checks up, getting in the back of Naraki. There's Brinker getting in the back of Hawken. And Poulin, as he does go up and scrub the outside wall, it also scrubs off speed. And he does not run in the back of the 89. So tremendous job there by Jake Poulin, making sure he did not get damage, wise crash damage from that incident. Now, working our 7th caution of the evening, want to remind everybody that this league has green-white checkers as well. So even though we're having these yellow flags here closing in on 20 laps to go, doesn't necessarily mean that this race is going to be over if we have a caution with about 4 or 5 laps remaining. So Michael Frisch going to be the leader when we go green, which looks like it will be this time. 22 laps to go. Kane Cook now up alongside him there in second with Sean Butler third. Mentioned that those two came to pit road about 40 laps ago. So Frisch hasn't been on pit road for about 56 laps, so we'll see. Have the tires evened out, or do Cook and Butler still have the advantage with their fresher tires? Green flag back in the air. And now Michael Frisch just hoping we see some more yellows. They get his wish as we are almost 3 wide back there. That's Blake Reynolds down the inside. Ooh, pushed up off the corner as he'll get around Elliott Henderson. Now challenges Derek Justice. That's for 7th. Lumbia slides up the track there, almost into Williams, almost into Justice. They're going to split him 3 wide in the middle going into turn 1. Look at Blake Reynolds down there on the apron of 1 and 2. Sure that's going to work. I've had screen freeze for me for a moment here. Just bear with me while we wait for this to settle out. I don't know if we're still under green. I don't know if we're under caution. Nope, we're still green. It just came back. Apologies for that. Frisch right now about 0.3 of a second over Kane Cook, but all the mayhem is going on behind him around the 5th position. That's where you find Ryan Williams, Derek Justice, Blake Reynolds, 6th and 7th. Blake Reynolds is only on 21 lap old tires, so right now he is the one with the advantage. Drive it deep into the corner there on Derek Justice, tries to let it ride up off the corner. Justice wasn't going to let him have it that easily. When the two of them almost made contact going into the corner, Reynolds, he's running a risk right here. Driving it in that deep, he's hoping that it sticks, and he keeps sliding up almost into somebody's door, and speaking of that, we nearly had contact behind him. Elliott Henderson up into Arnold Columbia, almost. Caution. Oh, we got a big wreck back there. Jake Poulin, Gary Waterworth, and Evan Brinker all up into the outside wall heading into turn 3. And it looks like we may have had another driver involved as well. 18 of Kyle Lawrence Short. Smoke flows from underneath that Jack Daniels Chevrolet Camaro. A 4-car incident brings out the 8th caution of the evening. Michael Frisch was doing a good job there on older tires, holding off Kane Cook. Cook was starting to make a charge, though. He had